What's up, world? This is
Consciousness Speaks with Onika Whyte
and Andrew Gobind.
What's up, world? It's your boy Andrew, and I'm alongside my soul sister Onika, and we are Consciousness Speaks. As we say what this podcast is about, and it's Consciousness Speaks, and to really truly understand what consciousness is, it really comes back to who we truly are, who we've always been. And just taking this journey and now shifting and bringing some awareness along this ride, and now having this voice. Because I think what's happening in the world right now is that we don't have a voice for consciousness, and a lot of people are struggling with things, trying to figure out life, and they don't have anyone to talk to. And we just wanted to create a platform where now we can have a voice.
Absolutely.
The people can have a voice.
Absolutely. And this is based on our experiences, because when we're going through that shift or that transition that we talked about, we just didn't feel like we had a voice, so to speak, or I didn't feel like I had a voice, more or less. I was just thinking these things are happening to me. I couldn't understand what was happening to me, more or less. And that's when I met Andrew, and I was able to, express to him or share with him some deep things that was happening to me at the time, and just feeling that sense of I'm not alone, which was wonderful. And that's what we were talking about right now, coming together as a community,
Absolutely.
Reaching out to each other,
Yes.
through sharing and experiences to really empower each other to moving forward, on our journey.
And the truth is that we are not alone, and we are all connected.
Yes.
And really and truly what really happens, and this is part of everybody's story. This is not just my story, Onika's story. This is part of everybody's story and everybody's
Yes.
experience, is that we go through life. The older we get, the changes in life, we go through trials and tribulations. And unfortunately, what happens when we hit those bumpy roads in life is that that's the time that we feel alone. That's the time that we feel isolated.
Absolutely.
That's the time where we feel like there's nobody around to help us.
Yeah.
But
in fact, it's not true, because there are people around us, who are willing, and want to help us or be there for us. However, when you're feeling that shame, you're feeling that intense loneliness, you're feeling those emotions, you tend to want to hide away.
Yes.
Somewhere along the line, people want to cover themselves, hide away, isolate themselves, so to speak. But in fact, you shouldn't be doing that. That's when you should be reaching out. And that's why we're here, to encourage, inspire you guys. Reach out. That's why we're here. It starts with us.
Absolutely.
And through these conversations, I'm hoping that we could start, having people come up to us and start sharing more,
Yes.
stories, or share it with each other. It could be your mom, dad, whoever it is. You got to just start sharing that information.
Absolutely. And on a personal level, for myself, Onika, when I really started the shift was, when everything is okay, when your status quo, and you're comparing yourself to your peers and everything looks good, and this is all the outside stuff, so to speak. But here's what happens. Now we run into problems, and now we no longer look like the people we see on Facebook. We're no longer looking like the people we see on Instagram, and the happy families and the happy everybody on vacation looking good. And now all of a sudden I went through, it was about 5 years ago, I went through a divorce myself, and it really shook me, because here was this life I thought I had that now was gone.
Right.
And it was the choices now I had to make and say to myself, wow, the first thing was, it left me in a place that I did feel alone, that I did feel isolated, that I didn't have anyone to share with, because all my other friends were still married or getting married, or everybody looked happy and had the happy family. And here I am now in this space that wasn't. And now this gave me, the starting of this awareness that we're talking about, and this space. And I met, Onika, a couple of years later when I started this journey. And it's so funny, because it truly is the laws of attraction. And it's funny too, Onika, because what you didn't see was this guy, this man, really struggling with staying grounded. What I mean by that is, being grounded in the sense I have 2 young kids to take care of. I'm in a marriage that no longer is there. I'm in all these different areas of my life At the time, I was in a job that wasn't serving me on this level that felt it was aligned with my soul's purpose. So I had all these struggles. The one thing I knew and that I felt as part of my awareness was that, when I'm going through these changes in life, one of the most important things is to find the joy. And that's the hardest thing to do, because to find the joy when you're going through a low point.
That's right. There's so many things happening that overshadows.
Yes.
Right? The happy that people, when people talk about, oh, you got to stay positive, you got to be happy, you got to have all these emotions. However, you're drowning in your experience, your trials and tribulations. How do you maintain that space of happiness, right? How do you balance that and be able to stay happy knowing that all will be well when all you can see is things that are going on that are not really happy?
Absolutely. One of the first things, part of my journey, or shift, so to speak, and I think this will resonate with a lot of people, was truly understanding all these thoughts that I was having, right? And I think the thoughts came from they truly did come from a place of ego. And I think we look at ego as this, oh, look at me, I'm better than everybody else, or I look better than everybody else, or I have all these different things. But then there's the other side of the ego, and that's the dark side of the ego. And the dark side says is that we're not good enough, that we don't belong, that this life that we live, we don't deserve to live the life that we want.
Right.
And
I'm happy you also mentioned this, Andrew. Let's retract for a second. You mentioned that, when you're at the gym and I saw you were this happy person. This person was just in the moment, having a good time. But what I didn't see was that side of you.
Yes.
Which a lot of people are struggling with.
That's right.
Right? They come, you see them on the streets, you see them in the gym, you see them in the work environment. And deep down in their core, they're in so much pain.
So much pain,
right? And that was for me as well.
Absolutely.
I was in so much pain. What I would do, it's like I would have this facade.
Yes.
It's almost like when I'm out, I give this wonderful image of me smiling. And it's almost like, I'm an actress in a way where I'm putting on this front.
Yes.
Because God forbid, you don't want anyone to see the real truth, of who you are when you go behind closed doors.
Absolutely.
And when you're crying, or when you're sad, or you're feeling lonely, you're feeling depressed, or you're feeling anxiety and those emotions. And that's what a lot of people are dealing with.
Yes. And to
so
touch on your point.
That's why we're doing this, because we want people to start opening up more and sharing exactly how they're feeling.
That's right. And, and here's the interesting thing with being vulnerable, because for me, it took these life-changing experiences. Yeah. It took a space where, I got divorced. It took a space where I lost my job after 13 years. It took a space where, at first what I would do, because we do the opposite of awareness. And I realized after having, numerous relationships that this is exactly what I was doing. I was not connecting, I was numbing. And I was feeling less and less of myself. Yeah. What's interesting about that space is, again, I now started that journey, which was fascinating, where I said to myself, I am not my thoughts. I am not those things, because what was happening in those situations is now I started feeling ashamed of myself. Yeah. I didn't feel I was good enough, and I could feel the difference in who I was. So I made an effort. I made a shift in myself, and just to say, and just a tiny practice every single day, is that I'm going to find something that I love to do and find the joy in it. And when I find the joy in what I'm doing, I want to visit this place where I don't love myself. And in that space, what I started to try to do was start to love myself.
It takes a lot of courage, really, to visit that space. Because for me, it's similar,
Absolutely.
when my relationship broke down, and it's almost like part of me went with that relationship. I didn't even know who I was. I didn't even want to be with myself. Yes. And of course, you cannot escape yourself.
No.
There's one person you cannot escape in this world, and it's yourself. So at some point, I had to figure what do I enjoy doing?
Yes.
I had no clue what I like doing. Mm-hmm. Someone said to me once that, what do you enjoy doing after the relationship crumbled? I'm like, I don't know. So I had to start rediscovering who I am. who is this person? Who is this person called Onika?
And it's a beautiful
You know?
step in the journey, because
Yeah.
it's like when we say, who is this person? Who am I?
Yeah.
And it's one of the most challenging questions to ask yourself.
It is. Absolutely.
But it's such a necessary question to
Yeah,
ask ourselves. And part of it too, and they talk about it a lot, is that when I ask myself the question, who am I? You know, there's a couple things I need to look at. I need to strip away, you know, how much money I have in the bank. I have to strip away, you know, my career, my identity to my career. I have to take away this relationship I have with my family. I have to take away, you know, anything that defines me within this human experience that quote unquote makes me who I think I am. I have to take all of that away. I have to clean the slate completely.
I had to do the same too.
And now we have to
realized-
ask, and you have to ask yourself, who am I truly?
Yeah.
And that's it does, like you said, Onika, I think it takes a lot of courage. And I think that what we need to do to truly understand when we're going through these spaces is that we are these courageous beings.
It's just a matter of really understanding that in life we're gonna go through different experiences. Some of them may be perceived as not so good, while others are good. It's all about our perception
That's right.
of what it is. You know, you never know what life is trying to teach you throughout these experiences.
Absolutely.
Because through it all, I've learned so much about myself,
Yes.
which I didn't even know before.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I've learned that I have so much more within me than I was aware of before, because part of me was so invested in someone else
Yes.
that I could not see who I am.
Yes.
It was
And
overshadowed, really.
it's like a
So,
shadow, and I love how you said that, because we invest time in all these areas of our lives that quote unquote define who we are.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is we don't invest the time for ourselves. Right? You know, and I think it's important that in this space that we're creating, and again, it's consciousness speaks. And the key to this is that, as we said earlier in the podcast, is, you know, we're not alone in this. We are all connected, and we all have our voice, and we all have our truth.
Yes.
And our truth is the love that is within ourselves. And once we find that
Absolutely.
voice,
Yes.
we start connecting. And this is what we
Yes,
want to do. We want to
yes.
create a space that now we have everybody talking about, you know, what they've gone through and how now they become more aware and how they found the love within themselves.
Absolutely. And when you find the love within yourself, you're able to love each other
Yes.
and not thinking of, you know, that person over there and, you know, and judging yourself and so on and judging them, right? And when we heal,
We give permission to others,
others
to do
heal.
so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Thanks, guys, for listening to this podcast, and you know, we'll definitely be continuing this and touching on all these different areas of, again, you know, when we start going through this process of shifting and awareness, and now to really understand that it is our vulnerability. It is that place that we think we're in shame. It is all these things where we now are in this space of being humble that we start to grow.
Yes. And it takes courage, really, to really stand up and say, you know what, this is what's going on. I need your help. How can you, you know, lend assistance? But now I find like we're in a world that's just so busy and just fast paced that we don't have time for each other. But we need to learn how to be there for one another, you know, supporting and encouraging and uplifting each other. So moving forward, this is our goal, really, to kind of spread that message of love and embracing
Absolutely.
and sharing with each other, you know.
And just give,
And, you know, allow each other to heal.
allow each other to heal, and just give different ways of how to reconnect. And again, give voice to all of this. And this is why we've created Consciousness Speaks.
Yes.
Onika, this has been an amazing
It's been a slice.
slice, enlightening and uplifting.
Yes.
And I can't wait to continue.
Absolutely. Stay tuned every week for more to come. You know. It's
Peace
gonna
and
be a
blessings,
blast.
everybody. All right.
It's gonna be
One
a
love.
blast.
Yes.
Thank you all for tuning in.